So, I was just watching the Joe Rogan Experience and I saw something quite interesting. They were talking about how before fight weigh-ins, what the fighters will do in order to make weight is they will actually dehydrate themselves and go to the sauna, not taking any liquids, and try and dehydrate themselves as much as possible so that they make the weight class that they're fighting in. And then once they've done the weigh-in and they've made their weight class, they then rehydrate. And the way they do this, most of them, or the way that a lot of them do it, is they go and get rehydrated and have a water IV drip put in, and they rehydrate themselves that way. So I was watching this, and my mind was working and going crazy like it usually does when you watch a Joe Rogan Experience podcast. And then I thought to myself, well, if they're hydrating themselves with water like that and they're dehydrated for the fight or the weigh-in, why can't we do something similar for a hangover? I mean, from what I understand, a hangover is basically your body being dehydrated, which is why a lot of the time they recommend that you should drink lots of water while you are drinking and also before you go to bed and then again when you wake up, because that is supposed to deal with the dehydration and help you recover a lot faster and be less hungover. So I thought, woohoo, I've stumbled on a genius idea here. If you can get rid of a hangover with an IV drip of water and rehydrate yourself, bye bye hangovers, which is fantastic. So then I thought, okay, you're not as smart as you think you are. I'm sure someone else has thought about this already before. So I went to trusty Google and I did a Google search to search, IV drip for hangover, and lo and behold, there are already entries and people who've been thinking along these lines or asking themselves the very same question. So I skimmed over a couple of articles and then I found one where in fact there's a service in America that will come to your house the next day after a big piss up, and they actually have a nurse that will hook you up to an IV drip, and that will then rehydrate you with water and other important vitamins that might have that you might have been depleted or you might have lost during the drinking. And so they had an investigative reporter actually try out this drip, and I am sad to report back that unfortunately the results weren't very promising. And from his judgment, basically, he said he had the drip in. It took about an hour, and then afterwards, he said he still felt like he was having hot flushes. He felt a bit nauseous, and he wasn't quite sure if the drip had actually worked or not. And that sounds to me like he still had a fucking hangover. So, based on that one episode, I mean, you can't judge everything by one try, but it just seems like from the mediocre results he got at best that it probably doesn't work, which is really disappointing, because if you're like me, you really want to find a cure for these fucking hangovers, because anything beyond one bottle of wine and I'm in bed the next day, I'm curled up, I'm hot flashes, I'm dehydrated with a dry mouth, and basically I'm like a baby in bed for pretty much the whole day. It's a total write-off of a day. So any cure for a hangover would really help. So I'm always thinking of things to try and help with that, and unfortunately this time, while the IV drip for dehydration sounded really genius to me at the time, doesn't seem to have worked. But don't take my word for it. If you know of someone who does this and it works, then please let me know, because I haven't actually tried it myself. So all I'm basing this on is an investigative journalist's feedback, which you would assume to trust, but then again, you can never believe everything that you read in the media. So yeah, if you know of any other cures that might work, for me, trusty old water is the only thing that helps. I down liters of it before I go to bed, and during the night if I manage to wake up, which is not usual, and then the next day when I wake up, tons of water, and that I have found has been the best hangover cure over everything else and all the other little gimmicks that are out there that I found. So yeah, I hope you've got something that works for you, and if you do, let me know. All right, cheers.